You're here, which means that you've found Spirit Crumbs, leading you to your inner light worker. I will be sharing how these tiny little hints from the universe have led me to where I am today. I hope that by hearing my story and the stories of others, you'll pick up your own spirit crumbs along the way that will lead you to somewhere magical. Thanks for coming along for the journey. Let's see where it takes us. Welcome to another episode of Spirit Crumbs. I am your host, Andrea McCallum. I am an intuitive oracle card reader and energy healer. Today is the first of the 7 chakra episodes from me, explaining a little bit about the background of the chakras before we get into the next episode, which will be an interview with someone about each chakra. And so this week, I will have Krista Nilles talking about her root chakra journey and how that brought her to her spiritual awakening. But first, we'll be talking about the root chakra in general and what it means, what it is, and maybe some ways that you may have seen it coming up in your life before. And like I say for most of my episodes, I just want to stress that this is from my own experience and research. So there may be other things that you know about the chakras or that you've heard. And I was thinking actually just today before I started recording that maybe if you have something that you just know for sure was like really helpful for your chakras or like a particular one, or something that comes up for you in that area or something you've learned, you can share it with me on Instagram, either with from my Spirit Crumbs Instagram or Concrete and Crystals, whichever one you feel like reaching out through, or my email address, which is just concreteandcrystals@gmail. And then if I have enough of it, maybe I can do an episode on some things that I've learned from you. So I just thought that would be fun. So I'm going to start, of course, with the first chakra, which is the root or base chakra. And part of the reason that the base is sometimes the name for it is because it's at the base of the spine. And so, like I said in the general chakra episode, each chakra is also kind of ruling over particular body parts and organs. And so for the root chakra, it's the adrenals linked to like stress and fear. And then the colon, the large intestine, the lower back, the legs, the feet, everything at the very base of the body. And in general, how this shows up in our lives is that it's responsible for our sense of safety and security, feeling grounded. And in the safety and security, it's like our basic needs being met. So food, shelter, clothing. It's usually the root of most of our fears. And then finances, of course, are attached to this because of the basic needs and our relationship to money and abundance. And then our survival instincts, again, because of those adrenals, our connection to the earth and our own existence in our bodies. And then it's the base of our life force energy. And this also is where the Kundalini is awakened. And so this is like a feminine snake serpent energy that is living. It's coiled at the base of your root chakra. And this is often like a different awakening process. It's very intense and it's tending to be more feminine. So it's just a different, I guess, journey that sometimes people go through that starts at the root chakra. And now in terms of some other things that are associated with it, the color for the root chakra is red. And the crystals that I associate that have come up a lot in my research are garnet, smoky quartz, bloodstone, red jasper, onyx, and obsidian. So lots of reds and blacks, anything that's very grounding and I feel like deep in color. So of course, like anything else, you may have other crystals that you personally work with for this. But those are ones that come up for me a lot that I have and use. So when you have a session with me, those are probably the ones that I'll be using for the root chakra. And then I have been attached to animals a lot lately. And so I decided to include that in these episodes too. And so the classic animal for the root chakra is the elephant. However, I also lately have been seeing a snake, and of course this relates to the Kundalini as well, but just because they are an earth animal. And then the bear has been coming up because they also are very, very grounded. They're very earthy, and they know their force and existence very well, and their confidence. And then the groundhog, because the groundhog for me came up because of rebirth and like death and rebirth, and because a lot of fears are around that, and because they're so deeply embedded in the earth, I feel like that also is a good energy for this chakra. And then sense, because this has been coming up a lot, like aromatherapy. It came up in a live reading that I did, a group of live card readings a lot. And the scents that are associated with this are cinnamon, sandalwood, vetiver, jasmine, frankincense, cedar, and pine, all very earthy, and then patchouli. I personally hate patchouli. You can ask my brother. I can't stand it. Maybe I'll come around to it because I'm becoming more earthy. Same with the color red. I've had an aversion to it for quite a while, and I don't know when that started, but I think it's related to my root chakra issues. So maybe I'll be coming around and I'll be wearing red and smelling like patchouli. Who knows? And then I thought of adding in the gods and goddesses because I've been working with some of those. And for this one, the Hindu god Ganesh, which is like the elephant god with many trunks, removes obstacles. So this is one that's associated with the root chakra. And Shakti is the goddess associated with the Kundalini. And then Gaia, Mother Earth, of course, because the earth is what we're connected to in this chakra. The foods that are suggested are root vegetables, especially beets, which I've been eating a lot of lately, and then red foods and juices, specifically berries and cherries, which I also have been eating frozen cherries just as a snack. So apparently I'm doing some root chakra healing I wasn't even aware of. But how this shows up for you. So just in general, again, there's lots of things. So this is just a few that I have kind of researched and experienced, is that when the root chakra is blocked or unbalanced, this is when we feel very fearful. And this can be in general when we're in like fight or flight mode for survival, when we really are feeling unstable, when our needs are not being met, when we have a lot of anxiety and worry around finances or the home, when we're actually experiencing unsafety like violence or something that's physically threatening our safety, this is also like stored in the root chakra. And then in general, if you're just feeling either really disconnected from your body or overly attached to just being in your body as opposed to experiencing like mental and spiritual things. And then also in general, a sense of lack or scarcity comes up because this is around finances and abundance. And then just a lack of energy in general, like not having that life force energy really present or feeling really stagnant. And this again can sometimes still come from the fear, because it can sometimes just be that we have so much fear that we're in the freeze mode. So like there's fight, flight, and freeze. And this could be that we are just frozen and not feeling like we can move forward, or like it's unsafe to do so. And a lot of times these are things that we're not aware of. A lot of these are sometimes starting out as very unconscious things that are just coming up in subtle ways. And so like this can be like limiting beliefs, like, the lack mentality, not believing we deserve to have abundance, not believing that we're safe even when we maybe are. Maybe it's just like in the past we weren't, but now like going forward we are safe. It's just it's stored in our bodies that we are not. But then when we do start to balance them, this is when you start feeling really worthy of your existence, like you can take up space, like you know who you are and that you feel like you're very grounded and connected to the earth. It also just means in general that you're feeling safe and secure in your physical world and in your home. Your needs are met, and maybe you're moving into abundance where you have more than you need and you believe that you deserve this. And then this also means that once we're starting to balance this chakra, we're not feeling that chronic fear and anxiety, and our adrenals aren't on high all the time. We're feeling a little bit more relaxed. We're able to ground into our energy more. And then we're also feeling like our life force energy is returning. Like we are feeling like we can move around and like we want to move forward. And this can be like physically, like we're going to be doing more of the activities that we enjoy. And we're just going to be generally feeling like it's safe to be in the world and participate. And then, of course, we can't just go from blocked to balanced in one step. There are things that we can do to heal this chakra. And of course, like I said before, there are many ways. I can't possibly touch on all of them. And I always suggest with anything, if you're actually healing some really deep things in these areas, that having a therapist or at least someone very close to you to talk to when these things are coming up, because once you start healing, sometimes things come up that you're not expecting, because like I said, a lot of this is unconscious, where you're actually not aware that you're holding and storing these things in the body. And again, all of the chakras are representing some part of the body, so we do store in our body a lot of things relating to the chakras, but particularly the root chakra, because it's about like embodiment and like physically being in your body. There can be a lot more that's stored because there's so much in the way of fear. And then this can impact a lot of different things in our lives, physically and emotionally, that we're not even realizing are the root. And so a lot of times, in general, I would just say that when you're thinking about the root chakra, sometimes it means that it's just literally the root of some of your issues or your problems that are coming up. So just to keep that in mind when you're doing the healing, that if you're going to be getting to these root issues, you may want some support. And so something that I have been doing more for the root chakra is spending time in nature and being very close to the earth. And so I'm sure many of you have heard of the practice called earthing, where you're literally like barefoot on the earth, or physically touching or hugging or putting your palms on trees, anything that involves physical contact with the earth, because this is a physical reminder that we are safe, we are connected to the earth, we are part of the earth. And this can start to help you just feel a little bit more grounded and safe again. And so for me, I've been physically putting my hands on trees. When it's a nice day out, I have been walking on the grass in bare feet, sitting on the ground, just anything, even squatting. Krista, who you'll hear in the next episode, she suggested that for me when I had some root chakra stuff come up in a reading earlier this year. So I think that just goes to show you, like, getting as close to the earth as possible is probably a good idea if you're starting to heal this, even if this is the starting point, just to see what comes up emotionally for you. And it can also be the end point. It can be at any point. And then grounding meditations where you're imagining yourself in the earth with roots coming down. You may have heard this if you've done guided meditations, that the roots from your feet or your seat or both, going into the earth, down into the core, is a very powerful image and vision for you to have in order to feel that connection from your body to your spirit to the earth. And then also something more practical that I'm, working on now too, is budgeting so that you can visibly see that your needs are being met. Because sometimes we can know, on a mental level, like, yes, I'm paying all my bills, everything's fine, but there's still this sense of instability and fear around not having your needs met. So by balancing your budget and like looking at it and saying, no, I do have this extra money here, I'm not in, this sense of lack anymore. I'm actually moving into abundance. Like that can be very helpful. And even if you're not at that point yet, it can start to show you where maybe you can start to cut so that you can get control of it again. Because sometimes when we don't look at it, and avoidance is part of that, it's one of the like stress responses and anxiety responses, then that can make it worse. So that's just something that's more practical, but it can be helpful. And then eating the foods that I mentioned, the root veggies and things, and the aromatherapy that I mentioned. So this can be candles, it can be the actual essential oils, it can be incense, anything that has those earthy scents. And then I did want to mention that cinnamon was mentioned in the scents, but it's a good thing to eat as well for your root chakra. And then I am not an expert in anything to do with movement. It's something I have to work on, but yoga and qigong have poses and movements. I think at some point I was trying warrior pose in yoga because it really gets you grounded into your legs. But if you look it up, I'm sure you can find lots. You can probably find some videos to follow for that chakra as well. And then getting to the root of your fears, like I said, doing this either through past life regression, through therapy, inner child healing, that can really help you find the source of some of these fears. And then just talking about the colors, color therapy is very powerful as well. And so wearing and surrounding yourself with red could be a good way to start embodying the ideas behind it. And then, of course, in order to help reinforce that, affirmations and sounds are very powerful too. And so, like I said in the previous episode, each chakra has its own Bija mantra or seed sound. And chanting these, like the 𝚤 is the most popular one, and I'm sure you've heard many different representations of this being used as a mantra, but the one for the root chakra is lam, so Lam. And so that one, if you were to repeat that in a chanting way, is very powerful. Again, I'm not very good with pronunciations. I have to like listen to it a few times on YouTube and then do it, so you can try that too. But I think affirmations are something that I used to not give a lot of credit to, but for me, it's been very powerful. Even though I don't use them necessarily on a daily basis, I do have certain ones that I come back to either in meditation or when I'm feeling stressed that help me feel grounded. And so I did do a list of them. If you look on my Concrete and Crystals Instagram, that you can save, that has them all on one slide, but I will read them out now and you can see how you feel with them. So the first one is, others receiving doesn't block my potential for abundance. I am abundant. I am firmly rooted to the earth. I am deeply rooted so I can reach for the sky. I am grounded and ready for growth. I deserve nourishment. I am worthy of life. I am building a strong foundation. I am grateful for this body that allows me to live an earthly life. So see how those feel for you. And then you may even come up with your own based on what's coming up for you specifically around this. You may end up finding that there's a common theme that comes up for you, and then you may create your own affirmation for this. So I hope this was helpful in just giving you an overview of this chakra. And then now you get to listen to Krista talk about her root chakra journey. And I'm so excited for you to hear this. It was such an insightful and vulnerable interview. And I'm super happy that you get to share her wisdom. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Spirit Crumbs. You can find me on Instagram for this podcast at Spirit Crumbs, or you can also find me at Concrete and Crystals for my own spiritual offerings and more tidbits about my own journey. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.